Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning. Good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And today we're going to be talking about that thing that we all have to have in order to be successful, and that's money. Wait, I've got a sound effect here. Ready? And I know that it scares a lot of people, and that's why we absolutely positively have to talk about it. So please join me in welcoming my guest today. Welcome to Kris Miller. Kris, how are you doing today?
I'm fabulous and honored to be here. Thank you so much.
Great. I love it. Well, and Kris is a fellow C-Suite network member. And so I always have a lot of fun when we talk with folks from C-Suite. So let me tell you a little bit about Kris, and then we will jump into this. So Kris Miller wants to live in a world where people celebrate their lives when they retire, not scrimp and worry if their money is going to last. She's advised over 6,000 families over the last 32 years and has never lost a single penny of their money. As a legacy wealth strategist, she's been featured on hundreds of radio programs as well as TV appearances. She's been published in hundreds of magazines and newspapers, both print and online, and spoken on stages across the country for top financial organizations like the U.S. Government Financial Officers Association and Citibank. Kris is the author of the #1 bestseller, Ready for PREtirement, Plan Retirement Early so that your money is there when you need it. Kris is the Money Maestro. She's a certified senior advisor, a paralegal, which is and in California, she's a legal document assistant, amongst other professional designations. She is the owner of Trusts Unlimited and the Living Trust Institute, and has been nominated, for Woman of the Year and Best Customer Service by the Chamber of Commerce to Hemet, California. When she's not working with families and businesses on retirement and estate planning, she mentors teenagers on how to prepare for a thriving future, both financially and spiritually. She loves cooking healthy and makes heavenly vegan coconut caramel nut cookies when she's not singing in an a cappella choir. So again, Kris, welcome.
Woohoo! Thank you so much. Really, really pleasure to be here.
I love it. Well, Tell us a little bit about how you got to where you are today, because I think people are always fascinated with knowing that.
It is a fascinating story, and I'll make a long story short. When I first started, I was, as you said, a paralegal, and I was working with an attorney, and we were going to the senior centers, and we were making revocable living trusts. Had a woman there, and she had a car and a house and no money.
Okay.
This is 1991, 92. The attorney wanted to charge her $5,000 for the trust.
Yikes.
And she had no money.
Right.
And I literally looked at him. She wasn't in the room. And I said, hey, can you give her a deal? And he looked at me like, what?
Yeah, no.
Cold as ice, and was like, woo, I'm out of here. And that's what pushed me into my business.
Okay.
And as I started to see patterns. It's not that I'm so smart. I did it 32 years. And what happened was people would come into my office and start their retirement plan and don't feel bad about this at 50, 60, 70. What is wrong with this picture? I was just wondering. Right? You go to school, you learn how to make money, you get out of school, and what do? Go make money and give it to somebody else to gamble. And then I started seeing this roulette wheel, and it was like, is it going to be up or down when I retire? I did not like that experience. So that's what got me started into researching safe money strategies, which is not really talked about a whole lot.
Right.
Because people make less money, right?
Right. Well, I mentioned it at the start. We don't like to talk about money, and it's funny because You say this on your website. First thing on your website, nobody is born knowing how to manage money.
Exactly.
They don't really teach it
Right.
in school.
Right.
We're not taught it at whatever level, from kindergarten all the
Yeah.
way through college. We're
Right.
not taught it. Our parents may or may not teach us about money. And we don't talk about it with our spouses, all of these things. It's one of those taboo subjects, which
It is.
absolutely should not be. So how do you get past that?
That is such a great question because it was around year 25 when I wrote my number one best-selling book,
Mm-hmm.
Ready for Pretirement, was that I realized, that nobody was talking about it. And I
Right.
was spending more time
Mm-hmm.
coaching people on their behavior
Mm-hmm.
around money than actually writing
Mm-hmm.
applications. And that's why I started Healthy Money, Happy Life.
Mm-hmm.
My goal was to make the conversation fun and
Mm-hmm.
happy
Mm-hmm.
because how great are you going to feel knowing that you're never going to lose a dime in the stock market?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have income. You're going to have a
Mm-hmm.
paycheck or a paycheck come to you every month in your mailbox.
Mm-hmm.
How about that? That's a happy story
Mm-hmm.
because money is just energy. And what does it do? It creates memories and
Right.
beautiful experiences with
Mm-hmm.
our family.
Mm-hmm.
So why can we not talk about that?
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, it's kind of like death, taxes, and politics,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so part of my goal is to change that conversation
Mm-hmm.
and make it empowering and fun when you realize that you can have, control what's
Mm-hmm.
going on in your life around your safe money.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I got the conversation started.
I love it. I love that you call it a play check.
Yeah.
Um, and unfortunately, we see it all the time where people, you know, they many people are retiring earlier, which that's great. But then they have to go back to work. Now, sometimes it's by choice. There are people who just have to be busy. They
Right.
want the benefits. I mean, there's all sorts of reasons why people go back to work, but unfortunately, many of them have to because
Right.
their paycheck is nowhere near being a play check.
Right.
So, when do we really need to start having these conversations?
Well, I wish it started in the high schools and the
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
colleges. I mean, that would be ideal.
Right.
And when before the kids even go off to
Mm-hmm.
college kind of thing. And that is part of the issue that it's
Mm-hmm.
never talked about.
Right.
So it
And
should
so
be
we
part
think
of
it's a taboo subject.
and it's on our own angst, our own.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of judgment,
Mm-hmm.
like just because you don't know somebody doesn't mean that
Right.
you're bad
Mm-hmm.
or stupid, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's breaking through the mindset that keeps people locked
Mm-hmm.
into that when the fear and
Mm-hmm.
overcoming the fear is when
Mm-hmm.
you see that there's a way that you can go, you can have a plan, you can
Mm-hmm.
walk through something that you're not going to lose what you spent
Mm-hmm.
your life
Mm-hmm.
working for, then that makes you happy. And
Right.
then you want to talk about it and
Mm-hmm.
talk to other people and
Mm-hmm.
share it, right?
Right. Right. And it's like you said, it's not something that we're taught.
Right.
And I've seen there's been kind of a trend, at least on the television stations that I watch, with commercials that are promoting apps and various things for people who are very low income. So I don't know what that says about what I'm watching on TV, but like one of them, the young lady, and they're usually young people. She's saying, I don't get paid until next week, but I need to gas up my car, which means she doesn't have well, now I guess it'd be like $30. Or others who, $500 would get them through the end of the month. And the bad part, many of us have been there, right? Where, especially when we were young and we were stupid and we might not have been paid a lot and all these various things. But it just goes to show that so many people are living right on that edge.
Hmm.
We always hear about living from paycheck to paycheck. I don't know how many people are, but so many people really are still right on that edge. And so, we tend to think, okay, if we're investing, we've got extra money, but So what do you tell, especially, 20 somethings, 30 somethings, how do you work with them to show them you've got to start doing this now?
Well, that's good. That's very good question because what it does is it breaks down some steps that people can take. Because I
Hmm.
work with people on a lot,
Hmm.
paycheck to paycheck, but or people that have lump sums that are in
Hmm.
IRAs and
Hmm.
401ks. So what do you do? And if you're living paycheck, and a lot of people say, "Well, I just spend
Hmm.
everything that I earn," there's a little. I have a course called Create Income You'll Never Outlive. And
Hmm.
inside of there, I have people walk through and keep a journal of their
Ah,
money spending
okay.
for a month.
Hmm.
And then at the end of the month, they're going to make a little chart and they're going
Hmm.
to draw a line down the center of the page. And one side's going to be discretionary
Hmm.
and non discretionary.
Hmm.
And they're going to list all their receipts,
Hmm.
add them up, and they're going to find money. They're
Right.
going to find money on the things that they
Hmm.
really don't need, the
Hmm.
extra Starbucks or the
Hmm.
purse or the shoes. And
Hmm.
it's not a new conversation as people don't do it. And it's
Hmm.
shocking. Even how many subscriptions you may have
Hmm.
that come on your credit
Right.
card.
You've got Netflix, you've got
You
Disney,
don't
you've
need
got,
all that stuff.
Spotify, all of those things.
And take that, I mean,
Hmm.
and you could plug your cell phone into your TV and
Hmm.
catch whatever you want to.
Hmm.
Get off of all the
Hmm.
subscriptions. You're going to find a few $100s.
Hmm.
Then you take the money that you find that is not what you need, right?
Hmm.
The a non-discretionary
Hmm.
and the discretionary. And then you're going to put it in your DNT account. You know what that is?
Do not touch.
How did you know? I didn't
Ah!
even tell you. Yes, you're going to put it in the DNT account
Hmm.
because the first thing that people, if you're just talking paycheck to paycheck,
Hmm.
that's different than people that have 401ks and
Hmm.
IRAs. But
Right.
the paycheck to paycheck, and you'd be shocked. I have
Hmm.
multimillionaire clients and people that live paycheck to paycheck.
Hmm.
How many people? I don't know what it was, 60%, 70%. The survey was that couldn't even come up with $10,000 in an
Hmm.
emergency.
Right.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, that's not a good thing because,
Hmm.
we just went through the pandemic. We've
Hmm.
been locked down for a few years, and the
Right.
potential of that happening again is
Hmm.
highly likely
Hmm.
in some form or another,
Right.
whether it's a weather
Hmm.
or this or that.
Hmm.
So you got to have rainy day money.
Hmm.
That's the
Right.
start. Well, you're going to get the where are you going to
Hmm.
get? Okay, we're going to start with the
And
non-discretionary.
folks, your credit card is not a rainy day money.
Don't get in the credit card trap. I mean, I see people that are like, retired and still
Hmm.
paying off,
Hmm.
so
Right.
it's a trap. And
Hmm.
especially now the interest rates are
Hmm.
insane.
Right.
If you can't pay for it, and that's what my daddy taught me.
Hmm.
If you can't pay
Right.
it,
Then don't get it.
that's it. That's
Hmm.
basic, very basic.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Right.
And yes, we have to use credit cards. I mean, it's just whether it's a credit card or a debit card, it's just, the way of life. And of course, debits work, because it's only your real money. I mean, you can't overspend on a debit card, but the key is to be smart about it. And
Exactly. Right.
like we've got the card that we have is one of those where if you pay off the balance every month, so you're never rolling, yes, there's still
Yeah.
charges on, but yeah, so you pay off your balance as of that statement date, then we get money back,
Yeah.
and we get back several $1,000s a year. And then of
Yeah.
course, so what we do is
Mhm.
we, sometimes it rolls back in. We just say, okay, put that on the, or we've used it for trips, things like that. Or you can do, mileage points, airline, all of those things. But the
Right.
key is to know, okay, this credit card is our main credit card. And we actually put almost everything on it because that way we get more money back, right? But
Sure.
because we're on a budget, ooh, that
Mhm.
dreaded word, ooh, ick.
Well, there's
We
a trick for
know,
that too.
yeah, we know we're going to pay it off every
Yeah,
month, and so we're
that's
not
right.
overspending on it.
That's exactly what I do. And for a while I was doing the Sky Mile thing, and then the
Mm-hmm.
travel thing got too weird. And
Mm-hmm.
now I have a car that I have one gives me two, another one gives me four, right? And I always pay my bill off. I don't
Mm-hmm.
buy anything that I can't
Mm-hmm.
afford. And
Mm-hmm.
that's a great way to
Right.
do. It's amazing
Mm-hmm.
how I even put all my utilities, I put it
Mm-hmm.
all
Yeah.
all
Mm-hmm.
on auto pay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's on auto, and then
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to
Mm-hmm.
miss it or think about it. Then I can work on
Mm-hmm.
creating more so that I can
Right.
create income with it.
Right. So talk to us about that icky word budget, because
Oh,
we all go,
yeah.
ooh, I don't want to budget.
You know what? You know what? It's so cool that in a way, how much health and wealth really go together. It's just
Right.
like a diet.
Mm-hmm.
Budgeting, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Saving. I don't need to eat that piece of cake or all the sugar or
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is you're trying to diet from. But there's actually a mindset. So as you know, as I was telling you, when I first started around year 25, I
Mm-hmm.
realized that I was spending more time with people on their mindset than actually doing
Mm.
applications.
Okay.
And so that's why I created
Mm-hmm.
the Shift Your Life coaching
Mm-hmm.
program, because of the mindset traps that we were born
Mm-hmm.
into, or our families taught us, or whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
issues that we have to, to break out of,
Mm-hmm.
right? So budgeting is changing that. So imagine now something that really gives you pleasure. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's a certain food, or
Mm-hmm.
most people have a pleasure
Right. Mm-hmm.
drink, or a,
Could be guilty, non-guilty,
something,
whatever.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever that is, I don't need to
No
say it.
judgment. No
No
judgment.
judgment,
Mm-hmm.
right? Just hope it's good for you.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever that is, maybe it to cost you
Mm-hmm.
$10 or something
Mm-hmm.
for it that day. And then now feel that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Now imagine taking that same $10
Mm-hmm.
and put it in your DNT account.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do it, you literally mindset trick
Mm-hmm.
yourself by going, ah,
Right.
wonderful. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
that feels so good, because that is my fabulous future.
Mm-hmm.
That is my world when I'm not working. That is the
Mm-hmm.
emergency money. That's the help I can give my family if they
Mm-hmm.
need it. That's for emergencies. So you replace the icky feeling
Mm-hmm.
with the beautiful feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Like with the dieting, if I don't eat that horrible thing,
Mm-hmm.
I won't get a headache anymore.
Right.
I
I'll
won't get
feel better.
bloated.
My clothes will fit. All
Exactly.
of those things. Mm-hmm.
Right. Exactly. So it's a little mindset thing, but
Mm-hmm.
it works.
Right.
It really
Right.
works. Yeah.
And we're not saying not to have those guilty pleasures, but if you're doing Starbucks 5 times a week,
Yeah.
okay, Starbucks 1 time a week,
Hmm.
or something like that. I remember one time I was in, some type of seminar, and they were talking same thing. They were saying, what were your expenses for the month? And this one young woman who had already confessed to the fact that she, lived on her credit cards and was, having serious problems. She went to Starbucks every day.
Yeah.
And it was just
Sure.
her routine. She drove
Yeah.
to work, and on the way she pulled through Starbucks.
Many people do that.
Yeah, and
Yep.
that's $7-10 a
Yeah.
day. So that's
I
fifty
know.
dollars a week. So
Right.
$200 a month.
I know.
And
Yep.
it was just and I remember the person giving the seminar said, honey, buy a machine, it's cheaper.
That's what I did. I was one of those people,
Mhm.
and then I
Right.
liked the green tea matcha, and I just said, you
Hmm.
know what? I got my own, oat milk and
Hmm.
matcha and,
Right.
stevia or whatever,
Hmm.
and sweetened
Hmm.
it, and it was just fine.
Right.
I saved all
Well,
that money.
COVID
Yeah.
broke me of that habit because
Right.
I used to go to a lot of meetings, several
Yeah.
meetings a week. Some of them were at Starbucks or someplace like that.
Right.
Um,
A food
or I
place.
would be, early. Oh, I have an early morning meeting. So I,
Right.
buzz through Starbucks, or, and
Right.
all of those. And it was so funny because I actually looked at it, and my accountant was so funny. She said, why do you not have much expenses? I say, it's because I can't go anywhere. But
Yeah.
we looked at it and realized that all of those had added up to so much money. And now, yeah, it was going through the business and all, but so I saved my business that much money by not doing that. And I went for well over a year without ever going to a Starbucks.
Yeah.
And so now I'm kind of like,
I don't even want to go now.
yeah.
Yeah. I haven't gone for years now that I've been
Hmm.
doing that. And I
Hmm.
and I tried once on some trip or something.
Hmm.
Didn't even taste good. Didn't
Right.
even taste as good as
Hmm.
mine did.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now there's this cute little coffee shop that I go to that is local owned, things like that. And that's actually where I try and have people have business meetings with me, on the rare
Yeah.
occasions anymore, because
Right.
to me, it's important to be supporting the local community.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's when we
Mhm.
think about those things, and like we were saying that, your subscriptions, are you even watching that TV channel to need that?
Yeah.
And all of those various things. And I think sometimes, the trick is, they publicize it and they say you get a month, 3 months free. But of course, you got to
You
give them your
forget.
credit card
I know,
in
you
order to
forget.
get that. And then we
Yeah,
never remember to go back in and cancel.
that's right. That's why you got in, and always check the credit card. You'll be
Mm-hmm.
surprised. I
Mm-hmm.
find charges on there that aren't even mine.
Right.
Imagine
Right.
that. I make
Mm-hmm.
money off of that. I was like,
Right.
that's not mine,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and they're good about getting it off.
Mm-hmm.
But that's like level one,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's a basic
Right.
good
Mm-hmm.
foundation right
But
there.
so many people don't even do that. And I'll admit I'm guilty of that on occasion. And it's more, not that I'm not, but it's just, it's lower on my priority list, which it shouldn't be. But so then I just don't do it. And I'm very fortunate that I have a husband that tracks all of this very closely, and it's very
Yeah.
cute. I know when he's been working on this stuff because I will get an email from him from the basement, right?
Uh-huh.
Um, and it will say there's a charge of $25.92 on the credit card on January 1st. What was that?
Hmm.
And he's not in any way saying I shouldn't be doing that. There's no judgment that he just wants to know which bucket he's putting it in the budget thing, right?
Sure.
And it's
Yeah.
very funny because I'm like, and
Yeah.
once or twice a month he does that. I'm like, oh,
Right.
and sometimes he'll say, it cost you how much to get your hair done?
I know. I know. I know. Yeah, absolutely. Now imagine that you've got that settled.
Mm-hmm.
Now you can start to create income you'll never
Right.
outlive, right?
Mm-hmm.
You get the
Mm-hmm.
basic
Right.
down,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what people don't understand how
Mm-hmm.
to do. Even with their IRAs and their
Mm-hmm.
401ks.
Right.
Most people are contributing to their IRA and their
Mm-hmm.
401k, and they
Right.
don't even know where it's invested.
Right.
And
Because the company does it.
right,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. And when the market goes south and goes down,
Mm-hmm.
they don't even want to look at it.
No, you don't want to
You
see those
know,
numbers going down. Mm-hmm.
there's that behavioral thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like how, because when I talk with people in a
Mm-hmm.
financial fitness strategy
Mm-hmm.
session, I ask them their age, their health, their
Mm-hmm.
wealth, their goals.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll
Right.
go, where's your
Mm-hmm.
401k? And then they'll go, oh, it's the so and so.
Right. It's through my boss, my
Right.
employer. Mm-hmm.
Where is it though? What's it invested in? Oh, it's at so and so.
Right. Yeah.
But they don't really know and
Mm-hmm.
they're embarrassed.
Mm-hmm.
There's no judgment because
Well,
nobody's been taught.
and they don't know that they can ask those questions.
Yeah,
That's the
right,
big thing, because I always
right.
remember, when I was in the workforce and had a 401k, it never occurred to me that I could say, excuse me, where are you investing this money, and what
Exactly right.
options do we
It's my
have?
money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you almost feel intimidated to
Mm-hmm.
ask about your own money,
And
right?
let's be honest, a
Mhm.
lot of those people make you feel that way. Why are you
Absolutely.
asking? Don't you trust me?
Exactly. And then the emotional bond that you
Mm-hmm.
get, well, I've
Mm-hmm.
always banked at this bank
Mm-hmm.
or my husband worked with this guy
Mm-hmm.
and I can't work with anybody else
Right.
or get a second
Mm-hmm.
opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the emotional trap
Mm-hmm.
that locks people in
Mm-hmm. Right.
to not expanding
Mm-hmm.
into growing into income
Mm-hmm.
they'll never outlive.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
Imagine that.
Mm-hmm.
That people think it's not just a slogan,
Mm-hmm.
it's reality. I've
Right.
done it for 32
Mm-hmm.
years.
Right. And if somebody is threatened when you're asking those questions, then you have a problem.
Right.
If you
Right.
ask, say, your financial advisor, tell me where this is. If
Right.
they don't immediately say, here's
Yeah.
or get you this stuff, I mean,
Right.
and know that you're going to get it right away, not you're being put
Exactly.
off. But if they, now they might have some questions that they're going to ask, but that's okay. If they're saying, has situation changed? Are there, things like that? I mean, those are good questions they should be asking. But if they say, well, I trust me, I have it invested well.
Right.
And they may very well, but you still have the right, like you said, it's your money. Ask them where it
You work
is.
for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of like a second opinion,
Mm-hmm.
on a doctor. If you go to a
Right.
doctor and says, we need to work on your heart,
Mm-hmm.
you got to go to at least 3 or 4 other
Right.
doctors. I'd say 5
Mm-hmm.
to get a different opinion. You'd be
Mm-hmm.
surprised how many different opinions
Mm-hmm.
you get.
Right.
So I'm like a second opinion
Mm-hmm.
on your
Mm-hmm.
wealth. And I'm on the safe side. Like I
Mm-hmm.
said,
Right.
6,000 clients,
Mm-hmm.
never lost a
Mm-hmm.
dime. So
Right.
it's a different kind of
Mm-hmm.
planning than the
Mm-hmm.
401k kind of
Mm-hmm.
plan,
Right.
which
Yeah.
is a big tax bomb.
Yeah. And so many people plan on the pray version. We're going to pray it works.
It works, right?
They're
Right.
not looking, and again, they don't want to admit they don't know. If
Yeah.
somebody says, well, we're invested in the S&P, they don't want to let you know that they don't know what that means,
Right.
or
That's
stocks,
exactly what I
bonds, all of those things.
Mhm.
And that comes back to the education. We weren't taught,
Right.
here is what the S&P means. Here is what, all of these various things mean.
Yes, yes. And you know what? That's a really good point. People have only been taught about risk
Mm-hmm.
planning. You've
Right.
got to put your money in stocks.
Mm-hmm.
So you're putting your life
Mm-hmm.
savings investing in companies you're not sure
Right.
that will be even around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And depending on someone that you may or may not know to make that
Mm-hmm.
decision, there's actually investments where you can
Mm-hmm.
create safe money
Mm-hmm.
and never lose your principal.
Right.
About that.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody
Yeah.
talks about it. It's very rare that you find
Mm-hmm.
people talk about it because
Right.
you make as an agent, I make
Mm-hmm.
less money doing
Right.
what I do.
Mm-hmm.
But I can look you in the eyes and go,
Mm-hmm.
I own this.
Right. Right.
Right? I've owned it
Yeah.
for 3 decades
Yeah.
and I've done
Mm-hmm.
fine.
Right.
Right? It's a little different.
And yeah, it really is. It's just, like we've been saying, people, they just don't know what to do and how to handle it.
Right.
And I remember when I was younger, I was much less risk adverse. I was younger, so I was willing to buy stocks and things that
Right.
were a little bit riskier.
Yeah.
Then I got married to somebody who said, no, we don't do that. And that was fine. I mean,
Yeah.
but there's so many things out there right now that I'm like, no. I do for business, what I do a lot of is social media.
Mm-hmm.
So people ask me, hey, I'm assuming that you have Facebook stock. No.
No comment.
Well, and it's more because that is a riskier investment.
Very riskier.
And I'm much closer to retirement, and so I don't want to worry about that. I'm not going to buy high tech. I'm also not going to invest in crypto or anything like that. Or if you do, it's a little bit of money. It's money that you can afford to lose.
It's gambling money.
Yeah.
If you could, if you just realize that the money you have, can I share with you what I have?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm a big fan of equity index annuities.
Okay.
And those right now at this time are making 10 to 15% with no market risk.
Nice.
And they can be set up to just grow like a CD in a sense where you can reach in and take the money out, or they can be set up to pay you for life. And that's not one person lost $1 in an annuity in the Great Depression. So they're very safe. Now, not all annuities are equal. There's a lot. There's all kinds of. There's variable. Those are horrible. You lose your principal. And that's for people that are over in the 55s and ups.
Right.
But the people that are younger can get the investable life insurance.
Right.
Where they can live off the death benefit. And I was so mad I didn't find that out till I was 58.
Oh my gosh.
Right? But it not only gives you tax-free income for life, but it also gives you catastrophic illness protection.
Right.
So, and that's something at a younger age, people need to think about that.
Right.
I think the pandemic kind of reminded us it's not an age thing. There's a lot of volatility around in the health and the wealth, and you protect yourself so you can stay in your own home. So these policies have long-term care, tax-free income, build cash, and companies have been around for 150 years.
Right.
So they're in for the long
hmm
term. They're not these little
hmm
short companies that pop
Right.
up and go
Yeah.
away.
And
It's
long-term companies do have issues, it's and so it's always best to really do your research.
do your research, right?
I think you were on program yesterday that we had with C-Suite, where
Right.
Jeffrey Hazlett was talking about when he worked for Kodak. Kodak would have been, and Kodak is still in existence, but Kodak was one of those companies, or Blockbuster Video, things like that, those companies
Right.
that are doing really, really well. Now Kodak, of course, was founded in the 1800s, and so
Uh-huh.
you're assuming that it's okay. Well,
Yeah.
then technology caught it, and
Shifted.
and
Right.
it ignored technology. So
Yep.
that's where you also want to be looking at what's going on. Maybe you invested in, say, automotive.
hmm
Okay, let's look at how electric cars might change that. And a lot of things like that. And it, again, it comes back to people that are just saying, here, go make me money. And I'm not
Yeah.
gonna, I'm gonna
Yeah.
trust that you're gonna do it. No, it's your
That's
money. You need to be taking responsibility for it.
That's that's exactly why I created this course,
hmm
because I don't just sell products. I want
Right.
to empower people
hmm
that they know what
hmm
they have, they know how it's going to take care of
hmm
them and their family,
Right.
because it doubles and triples their
hmm
money with no market loss.
hmm
So realizing, like you said,
hmm
Deb, that when you're doing, investing in an
hmm
electric car or this or that, there is risk there. So you
hmm
have a certain part that's the play
hmm
money, fun
Right.
money, and some money that's
hmm
the safe money.
hmm
And you take the chunks of the
Right.
money and you make it pay you
hmm
out for
hmm
life.
Right. Yeah, it's like when I go to a casino, I take $100.
hmm
That's all I'm going to spend.
Yeah.
Sometimes I play for a long time, sometimes not so much.
Yeah.
It worked out really well at Christmas. I was playing on $20 and I hit 250. And
Wow.
I went cash out.
Yeah, see, that's the thing right
Mhm,
there,
mhm.
right? Because I
Yeah.
did that, and
Mhm.
I don't like to gamble. That's why I'm in the safe money thing. But
Right. Oh, and my husband doesn't like it, but
yeah,
but he also knows that I'm not going to spend all that much.
well, you
Mhm,
have your
yeah.
limit, and
Mhm.
yeah, I did that one time, and I got $200, but I got the greed, and I was
Mhm.
like, no
Oh
more,
yeah,
and I
yeah.
lost it all.
Mhm. My grandmother was so funny. She liked to gamble, and
Yeah,
but she did it very budget consciously, and she was so funny.
right.
So she would have her, $50 or whatever. It was probably
Yeah,
20 because she didn't.
yeah,
And so as soon as she got to like $20 or like maybe $25,
right.
she cashed out that initial 20, and
Uh-huh.
then she just kept playing on whatever. And so, there was no
Well,
loss that she was going to have.
yeah,
And
yeah.
now the funny thing was she was actually a pretty good gambler, and these were just slots, um and there were years where we would go do things that she would pay for based on her gambling money.
Oh,
And it was, but she
yeah,
never, she when she hit that point, she either, you know spent her whole thing and was at zero, so she was done. She didn't put
yeah.
any more in.
Mhm.
But I love that she would say, okay, I'm taking out my initial investment, and now I'm just going to play with the extra.
Right,
Sometimes it lasted, again, a long time, sometimes not so much. But
right.
she was very conscious of that.
Well, I was just thinking about um, the younger people and grandparents
Mm-hmm.
and moms and dads, how they can set their kids up,
Mm-hmm.
because the kids are really going to suffer
Right.
the economy that
Mm-hmm.
is being
Mm-hmm.
left to them, right, with the index universal
Yeah.
life.
Are we in a recession? Are we not in a recession? What's inflation doing? Depends
Yeah,
on the hour and on who's talking.
and which channel you're tuned into,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you plan for
Mm-hmm.
longevity and plan for the taxes are going to be a
Mm-hmm.
big issue with inflation, then I had a guy, he was 38, he put
Mm-hmm.
$500 in the IUL, and
Mm-hmm.
at 67 retirement, his retirement age,
Mm-hmm.
he was set to get 80 to
Wow.
$100,000 tax
Mm-hmm.
free
Mm-hmm.
for life,
Mm-hmm.
and that's paid for life, and it has long-term care
Mm-hmm.
where you can use 2 to
Mm-hmm.
4% of the death
Right.
benefit to
Mm-hmm.
take care of you.
Mm-hmm.
Because most of us, I remember when I was younger, and I never thought, when you're 20, you don't imagine you're going to
Right.
die.
Yeah.
right?
And people who are retired are like 150 years old.
There are a
So
million years. I'm never going to
mhm,
be like that,
mhm,
or right. And when you're 20, you can't imagine what
mhm,
it's like when you're 40. And when
mhm,
you're 40, what's it like
mhm.
60 and
Right.
60, 80, and go to 100,
Mhm,
right?
mhm,
Longevity. But that's why each age has a certain little sequence that
mhm,
it should be doing that's
mhm,
different than, like, the younger people should be doing
mhm.
something a little different than
Right.
people that are about to
Mhm,
retire,
mhm.
right? So
Right.
each age has its own little
Mhm,
flavor.
mhm. Right. Yeah, because it's like we were saying, there's just the different things that are going on in your life. You might, when you're 20s, yeah, you should be saving, but you're probably going to have more fun, and
Yeah,
things like that. And
probably.
and then when you have a family,
Yeah,
things shift,
right.
but yeah, people, it's so funny. Where my husband and I are at the point where it really is, you know, retirement is in the near future. Now I tell people I ain't retiring until I die,
Yeah,
because
me
what
too.
I do, I can do as long as I want to.
Right. Yeah,
But but so we're having the discussions of where are we going to live? What are
right,
we, all of those things, and looking at, as you said, what lifestyle do we want? Are we going to buy a $500,000 house that's going to eat up a good chunk of our
right,
retirement? Or
right.
are we going to say, hey, we want to travel, so
There
we
you
need to
go.
save that money to be able to travel, and
Right,
you know and just being honest with yourself as to what you want.
right. And you mind map it. You can
Hmm.
change it, but if you have a
Hmm.
plan, it gives you a map to where
Hmm.
you want to go,
Right.
and and it and it makes sense. You
Hmm.
don't need the big house
Hmm.
and all the
Right.
expenses at a certain point,
Hmm.
which
Hmm.
consolidates your workload too,
Hmm. Hmm.
besides the money, so you can travel or
Right. Hmm.
do the things that you want to
Hmm.
do, or give back, or
Hmm.
create what you want to
Right.
create.
Right.
Yeah.
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 And we also, I think, in many cases, we're talking about kids. I think in many cases we're raising kids that think they're entitled.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's so funny. My mom, so I'm an only child, and my mom and she's done this now since my dad died. She takes my husband and I on these big adventure trips, cruises, all sorts of
Yeah.
things. And as she puts it, she's spending my inheritance. And I tell her, please keep doing that.
Hmm.
I would like it to get to, the last check that we write is to pay for the funeral. I'm
Right.
not planning on any money
I
from
hear you.
her, anything
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
And, but there are kids who are expecting, well, mom and dad are going to leave me, especially if their parents are
Oh.
wealthy. They're thinking, they're going to leave me all that money, so I don't have to really pay attention to what I'm doing.
Mm. Well, you brought up a touchy subject for me because, I was blessed, and my daddy was a genius,
Mm-hmm.
and he went to Caltech and learned
Mm-hmm.
under
Mm-hmm.
Einstein,
Wow.
and he was born in 1919.
Mm-hmm.
And he said to me, honey, he did very well. He says,
Mm-hmm.
honey, you're going to inherit $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said, Dad, I just want you. And I
Mm-hmm.
never counted on his money.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how he raised me. It wasn't
Right.
that I was smart,
Mm-hmm.
but he taught me
Mm-hmm.
about it. And then if my mommy got cancer,
Mm-hmm.
and this is the thing that people can't imagine,
Mm-hmm.
but her 5 days of chemo
Mm-hmm.
was $90,000.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so she had it 5 days a month for a year. $1 million
Mm-hmm.
is not a lot of money.
No. Mm-hmm.
So he never got long-term care
Mm-hmm.
insurance. So he went through millions of
Mm-hmm.
dollars.
Right.
A few years
Mm-hmm.
later, he came up to me and said, honey, you might get something.
Mm-hmm.
And they went through their estate.
Mm-hmm.
Thank God they had it, just like you.
Right.
I feel just
Right.
like you.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't count on it. I'm
Mm-hmm.
glad you guys had it.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom said, well, this lesson, when she brought me the bill, she says, maybe this will help your clients.
Mm-hmm.
And, it took me a long time to be able
Mm-hmm.
to share it without
Mm-hmm.
crying.
Right. Oh yeah.
Because it's so
Mm-hmm.
hard if you don't have that
Mm-hmm.
figured out. And 7 out of 10 people end up in a catastrophic
Mm-hmm. Right.
situation
Right.
after
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
65.
Yeah. Whether it's catastrophic or a long-term care type of thing.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Because the catastrophic leads to the
Mm-hmm.
long-term
Right.
care.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Who would have imagined a
Mm-hmm.
pandemic? and the scenarios that
Right.
happen. So you have that set up, and then it's our, it's just it what I call, when you get your estate, your affairs in order, I call it, an estate of mind. When you get, it's like
Right.
peace of mind. Then you're not even thinking about it. You're not worried about it. It's
Right.
already covered.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, because there are lots of other things we're going to worry about, and so just kind of put that one off to the side. And it's, it is something that you, as you really do need to be planning this all along. If you're a
Yeah.
parent, you need to be making sure that if something happens to you and, a spouse, or a partner, who is going to take care of your kids, and so all of those things. And people don't like to think, okay, I need a will, I need a living will, I might need a trust, all of those things, and then unfortunately those are the people that we see having GoFundMe campaigns because they
Yeah.
can't even afford to do a funeral. That just always breaks my heart when I see
Yeah.
those.
Well, but people don't. When I first started 30 years ago, nobody even knew what a living trust was.
Right.
Living trusts have been since the Middle Ages. They've been around a long time.
Right.
Only the wealthy people have known about them. And that was part of my goal, is to make it common. But inside of a trust, here's one for you that we talked about. Mom and dad go out to dinner and don't come back. Who's going to take care of the kids?
Right.
We don't think about that. There's a guardianship inside of the trust.
Right.
If mom and dad go, who's going to take care of the kids?
Right.
Or conservatorship if you become, incapacitated.
Right. Right.
So that paperwork, even if you don't have money, don't you agree, Deb? A power of attorney for financial and health care.
Yeah.
Even if you don't have money, that's a very important document to have.
Yeah.
Right.
And those things are actually pretty simple to do. And that's the thing, when I was diagnosed with cancer, it was, 2015. And, one of the first things I did was I went online, and, and here in Georgia, there's the paperwork that you can get. And, it was pretty basic and pretty simple. And, basically what I was saying was my husband has, control over all of this. But every time I go to the doctor, and, I've been dealing with this now for 6.5 years. Do you have your living will? Yes, you have it on file.
So you have a living trust, which is a legal document that avoids probate.
Right.
And then you have a living will that authorizes termination of artificial life support.
Yeah.
And then that's what they call the directive to physician.
Yes. Yeah.
And then you have okay.
And just telling people about that is not sufficient, folks. You have to have it done in a legal manner, and again, there's a variety of different ways to do it. But it's even something as simple as, hey, I want to be an organ donor. I might have the little sticker on my driver's license, but if I haven't told my husband, whoever might be caring for me, that that's my plan, doesn't matter. And so it's just, and so what you're doing with things like that is you're making it easier for them when those situations come up.
Exactly, because it's the hardest times that we have to go through. And that was the hardest thing, like with my parents. I mean, I never looked in my dad's drawers. Now, when my mommy left, she left before my dad. He worked to age 91.
Right.
And then he fell, and then I had to figure out
now what?
Now how am I going to pay for all this? And look through his drawers, and it's so emotional. It's so emotional.
Right.
And you don't want it's not what you want your kids to have to go. If you have it all set up, that is such a gift to the family. They don't have to think about. Then you got to let them know where it is and all of the little secret things. Yeah. And then it's boom, it's down, because in this world of volatility, we don't know what's going to happen next on any level. So it's just like being like, my podcast is Money 911. So it's like being prepared, being ready for the 911, and then you live at peace.
Right. Yeah, and simple things. When I got so sick, I had been, and still am, the person who pays the bills.
Right.
My husband didn't have the passwords to do that, so just, things like that we don't stop to think about, and so again, it's just to make things easier for
Exactly.
other people, when they're having to deal with it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's
Yeah.
and I don't care if you're 18, if you're 18, you should be doing this. Before then, your parents are going to be making those decisions. But once you turn 18, you need to have some of these basic things taken care of. And you
Right.
also need to have it taken care of if you own your business.
Oh, yeah.
And
Absolutely.
I don't care if it's you and just you, or you and 5,000 employees.
Right.
What happens if you pass away? If it's big enough, you probably have things
Mhm.
like a key man policy and, some things like that. But, who's, if you're a small business, you and I are small businesses, who's going to notify your clients? Who's, just simple things like what happens to that bank account?
Right.
All of those things. And again, it's pretty
Yeah.
simple to take care
Yeah.
of these things.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, that's what I've been doing for 32 years, and it's really neat because I've made over 6,000 living trusts.
Mm-hmm.
I've never made one the same.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's
Right.
got a
Yeah.
different little, right?
Mm-hmm.
A different
Yeah.
little
We take care of
angle.
our dogs and our cats in our trust.
That's how you should, and you
Mm-hmm.
have it stipulated on
Mm-hmm.
who and what,
Right.
because that give you
Mm-hmm.
peace of mind right now that you
Mm-hmm.
know that's
Yep.
done, that's
Oh, yeah.
covered,
Oh,
and
yeah.
your
Mm-hmm.
babies are taken care
Yep.
of,
Yeah.
right? Exactly, exactly. But you have to
Yeah.
have it
Mm-hmm.
spelled out. That's the
Mm-hmm.
point,
Right.
right?
Yeah. And again, it doesn't work if you just tell people, well, hey, I want you to
Yeah,
have my dogs when I die.
yeah, right. No, you
Okay.
told me it was mine.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Right.
Yeah.
There's
Mm-hmm.
a neat thing of, like, with the family and
Mm-hmm.
items in the house
Mm-hmm.
and things that get left behind and
Right.
the conflict.
Mm-hmm.
This I
That's
wish.
my gravy bowl. Grandma said I could have that gravy
So
bowl.
what you do, Grandma, is here nowadays. I wish my daddy would have done
Mm-hmm.
that. But what you do is you take a video
Mm-hmm.
of this china
Yep.
and you get to tell a story. This
Mm-hmm.
goes to Susie. This
Right.
was from Grandma that
Mm-hmm.
brought it from the old country
Mm-hmm.
or something.
Right.
And then they can get the
Mm-hmm.
picture of what it is
Right.
and the family
Mm-hmm.
story, pass on the
Mm-hmm.
legacy, and not and avoid all the problems
Mm-hmm.
with the other kids. They're going,
Right.
no, she told me it was mine.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah.
And that
Mm-hmm.
makes it really just,
Mm-hmm.
and you include everybody gets a
Mm-hmm.
copy of the video, and that
Yep.
ends that
Oh,
movie.
yeah. Yeah. Well, and with my mother-in-law, my husband and they did photographs. And then
Yeah,
it went in,
perfect,
it's this big 3-ring binder. And
perfect.
and my
Yeah.
grandmother was so funny. She did sticky notes,
Oh,
and
right.
it
Yeah,
worked. I mean,
yeah,
there was,
right.
so she had 4 kids, and the 4 kids, they might have thought, well, the 3 of them, well, I wanted that, but they knew that was
Yeah,
grandma's sticky note. She had put it
right,
on there, and
right.
nobody cheated. Nobody, switched sticky notes around. I mean,
That's a
all of those things.
blessing.
But
Yeah.
they also knew they could trade. It was like, well, she
Mhm.
left me that, but I wanted
Right.
that. Okay, want to trade? Okay, whatever.
Yeah,
But yeah,
exactly.
it just by doing her sticky notes, it worked. Now,
Right.
obviously not sophisticated at all, but
Yeah.
find what works for you.
Yes, exactly. And it's creative planning,
Mm-hmm.
because we spend our whole life working, and
Right.
the stuff is the stuff. It's
Mm-hmm.
secondary,
Mm-hmm.
but it creates a neat relationship. I had the honor of getting my daddy's memoirs, and at
Oh.
some
Mm-hmm.
point I'll create a book,
Mm-hmm.
because my grandparents walked across Europe
Mm-hmm.
during war, and it's a
Right.
neat
And being
story.
trained by Einstein. I mean, holy
I
cow.
know,
Mm-hmm.
I know. He has quite a story,
Mm-hmm.
and it flows with my story of walking
Mm-hmm.
barefoot across America.
Mm-hmm. I love it.
I
I love
know.
it.
It's so beautiful, and it
Mm-hmm.
bonds you with your family,
Mm-hmm.
because
Right.
that's our money,
Mm-hmm.
our family and our
Mm-hmm.
friends. That's our value,
Mm-hmm.
really,
That's our
right?
legacy. Mm-hmm.
That's our
Right.
legacy.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Our
Yeah.
heart connections.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So,
So
what are
beautiful.
some secrets to have a fabulous future?
Oh, well, it's not secret. I say that 3 secrets for
Mm-hmm.
safe money. And it's not secret, but we're talking about it because
Right.
they haven't been
Shh.
talking about it.
Shh.
Don't tell anybody. We're having too much fun.
I
Yeah,
know.
right. But okay, so we've been talking about it,
Mm-hmm.
but the plan, like the financial
Mm-hmm.
fitness strategy
Mm-hmm.
session that I
Mm-hmm.
do with people, I break the 3 secrets down. So
Okay.
what I look at, because I've
Mm-hmm.
seen over 6,000
Mm-hmm.
portfolios, And I have one guy, he had $44 million all in real estate and no living trust. Okay.
Yikes.
Or the amount of cash that he
Mhm.
had
Mhm.
compared to all that money
Mhm.
was like $10.
Mhm.
Like that's your rainy day money.
Right.
So it just because someone has a lot of money doesn't
Mhm.
mean that they have the
Mhm.
chutzpah, the brain that
Right.
gets it, right?
Mhm.
And so what I get excited to show people is how to create income they'll never
Mhm.
outlive and take what those 401ks and get the
Mhm.
tax off of them.
Mhm.
And right now, I'm showing people how to get through the recession,
Mhm.
this, the
Mhm.
volatility that is there. I mean, 1 minute it drops, for
I
5%,
know.
and the next
Yeah.
minute it's up.
Mhm.
Those are tremors
Mhm.
before or big
Mhm.
earthquakes. And they do expect the
Mhm.
money guys say another
Mhm.
25, 30%.
Mhm.
But it isn't to be around to take the fear out
Mhm.
of
Right.
it. So that's what I show people how to
Mhm.
do is take the fear out of it.
Mhm.
And there's three things to
Mhm.
focus on. And I don't care what age you are.
Mhm.
Is protection of assets from the catastrophic illness like we
Okay.
talked about.
Mhm.
Make sure you have the right paperwork.
Mhm.
Get your living trust. I mean, if
Mhm.
you own a home, even and have no money,
Mhm.
you do need to have the paperwork.
Right.
Maybe you're renting.
Mhm.
Maybe you have kids. You do
Mhm.
need the guardianship.
Mhm.
Got to have that. If something happens to mom and dad and they don't
Mhm.
come back from dinner,
Mhm.
who's going to take care of the kids?
Right.
Just have a little trail of
Mhm.
this, like you did.
Mhm.
It's inside of your trust or wherever it is. Your passwords or
Mhm.
your things are showing
Mhm.
people where the money is under the
Mhm.
floor or whatever it is.
Mhm.
Make sure, really, right now for everybody,
Mhm.
make sure you have rainy day money.
Mhm.
I used to say 6 to 8 months. Now
Mhm.
I say 8 months to 2 years.
Right, because we saw that because of COVID.
That's exactly the
Mhm.
point.
Mhm.
And that the powers that be are not through with the money is being reset.
Mhm.
That's the undercurrent. Things are going
Mhm.
into digital and the
Mhm.
whole system's trying to be changed. Whatever way that is
Mhm.
going to go,
Mhm.
you need to take time off and pay attention to what's
Mhm.
going on, you know, and learn about it. I mean, you can
Mhm.
read my book, or read other books,
Mhm.
but take time to learn about the safe money. And for the younger people, I'd really encourage you to learn about the tax-free, something
Mhm.
you don't have to have a lot of money
Right.
to start it, but something that you can start saving for your
Mhm.
fabulous future because there's nobody coming to your rescue
Right.
that's
And
going
we're
to,
not going to win the lottery. Folks, that is not your retirement plan.
no, it's not. It's a gambling plan. So,
Mhm.
just look at it just like going to the
Mhm.
casino.
Right.
It's a casino. Same,
Mhm.
and I know people that won't like this, but so are your stocks.
Mhm.
If you can afford to lose it, then have fun.
Right.
But
Mhm.
right now, like you said, the price of gas and where
Mhm.
things are, the food supply,
Mhm.
there's so much volatility.
Mhm.
You just want to make sure that
Mhm.
you're setting it in places that it's going to grow
Mhm.
with no market loss.
Right.
So there are three things that I focus on
Mhm.
when I talk about, financial
Mhm.
fitness.
I love it. And the goal is to make sure that we know that this is not a scary thing. This is not a
No.
thing to feel guilty about or feel
Yeah.
bad about. And and it's not, it's for everybody. If you're
Right.
making minimum wage, you can still be planning this. We're
That's it.
and I think
Yeah.
that's, maybe more important for those
Right.
people who are really just doing paycheck to paycheck. Okay, well, how can, like we said, do you really need that Starbucks every day?
Right.
And when you start thinking about it that way, and think little. I mean, so your do not touch fund, you
Right.
put $20 in it. Okay, it's
Yeah.
$20 more than it had.
It magnetizes other
Mhm.
money to
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
It really
Mhm.
works,
Right. Yeah, because then you're thinking, I can do 30. I bet
Yeah.
I can do 30.
Hmm.
And then it starts to be that goal, okay, well, I'm
Right.
gonna make sure that there's $100 in there by the end of the month or
That's
whatever.
right.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
it's not something to be scared of, not something to feel guilty about, and it really is something that we, as we've said, we all have to be doing it. And so,
That's
Kris,
right.
now that,
Yep.
yeah, people are thinking, help.
I know.
So
Oh, it's
how
too
do they
much.
reach you?
Oh,
And
thank you,
what are the
Deb.
services that you provide?
Deb, you're so sweet. Thank you. Well, you can hop on my calendar at meetwithkrismiller.com. That's KRISMILLER.
Okay.
That gets you on my
Hmm.
calendar
Hmm.
for what? A financial fitness strategy session.
Hmm.
So what I do is ask your age, your health, your
Hmm.
wealth, your
Hmm.
goals,
Hmm.
and then I get a plan. I get illustration to
Hmm.
teach you
Okay.
what I'm talking about, what I
Okay.
own basically, and
Hmm.
what we've been talking about.
Hmm.
And then we'll hop on the Zoom
Hmm.
and I'll share my screen
Hmm.
and I'll show you how it works. Then I'll
Okay.
send you it all.
Hmm.
Then you can look at it and
Hmm.
ask me
Hmm.
questions and I'll send you
Hmm.
things to learn.
Hmm.
So you can hop on my calendar. You can call
Hmm.
my office at 951-926
Hmm.
4158, or send me an email at
Hmm.
Kris, Kris, at healthymoneyhappylife.com.
Hmm.
And that way you'll be able to get your financial assets in shape
Hmm.
so that you can have longevity.
Right.
You know that they actually did a survey around people that have annuities
Hmm.
that pay them for life.
Hmm.
They actually have a survey that proves people live longer when they have guaranteed
Right.
income,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So there you go. There's just
Hmm.
some longevity for you too.
I
So
love it.
thank you so much. So
Hmm.
meetwithkrismiller.com or call the
Hmm.
office, send me an email.
Right.
I'm here to serve.
Right. And your website is healthymoneyhappylife.com. And
That's right.
really that's what you want everybody, you
Yeah,
want them to have healthy money so then they have a happy life.
exactly.
And so that's just the
Exactly.
easy way to remember it.
That's exactly right. And when it's healthy, it means
Hmm.
there's no gophers eating the roots, so
Right.
it'll grow up
Hmm.
instead of
Hmm.
right.
Right.
So it's nice and safe and
Hmm.
happy. And then that makes you happy because
Hmm.
your money's healthy.
Right.
It's
Right.
just,
Yeah. And you're
it
not
makes you
thinking,
smile.
what if
No
something
what?
happens? Yeah.
Right.
Hmm.
Or if you do, you're like,
Hmm.
covered.
Hmm.
It's
Right.
covered.
Right. Hmm. I
Yeah.
love it.
Thank
Well,
you.
Kris, this has been so much fun, and
It
so
has. Yes.
you've got such great knowledge and such great tips, and so this has really been so much fun. Do you have any final thoughts that you want to leave everyone with?
Well, it's something to help people go through their daily day
Hmm.
that I use, and it's another form of money, you could say, called gratitude. So it's a little thing that I use that keeps me on the up, keeps me on the happy side, because there's a lot of bombardment for everybody on a lot of levels. We all know that. So it's just a tip that I do, and maybe it'll help you. Is gratitude is the attitude that gives you the latitude. So, what does that mean? Well, when I wake up in the morning before I put my feet on the floor, no, I thank God. I think of 5 things I'm grateful for. I'm breathing, I have my health, I have family, whatever it is, right? If you can't find things, you're breathing, right? You have a bed, and that gratitude before you start your day. Then in the evening I do the same thing, and it changes how I react to things. And I'm learning to, okay, my computer just blew up, because instead of cursing the air, it's like, okay, there's got to be a blessing in here somewhere. So gratitude is an attitude, that latitude, which means it raises you above all the static. So it's a helpful way to have peace of mind as you manage through this world that we're in. And it gives you peace. So gratitude is the attitude.
I love it. What a good way to end. Well, I'm Deb Creer. I can't wait to talk to Kris Miller again. But until then, everyone have a great day.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.